Okay, according to whoever's running the internet, it's 11 o'clock, so we'll start this meeting. The purpose of today's meeting is to canvass the election returns of the November 5th, 2024 general election. Melissa?
Good morning. So before you have two reports. You have the cumulative results and you also have the canvas report. So what you are approving this morning is actually the canvas report, the bigger report. So that is what you're officially doing today. So we had a really good turnout. We had 9,838 voters come out to vote. It's a little bit down from 2020. I think at 2020 we had 10,005, but again, 2020 was a special circumstance. COVID was a big factor. We had 3 weeks of early voting, and so we had a little bit higher.
What percentage of the voters does that for the county?
I think it's about 54 to 55%, maybe 56. I'll have to remember.
And there's no change in the...
So we had 7 ballots that were counted post-election. So 4 of those were provisional ballots. 3 of them were late mail ballots. It did not change the outcome of any race.
Any questions of Melissa?
I just have a question, I guess. I read in the paper where there were 200 provisional ballots and some committee was going to get together.
The early voting ballot board is the one that makes the decision on provisional ballots.
Have they already gotten together?
Yes, that's what these 7 late mail ballots, the 7 post-election ballots.
So the majority of them got accepted?
So no, only 4 of the 173 provisional ballots were
accepted.
Tell us why one would not be accepted.
Okay, so the majority of the provisional ballots are people who are not registered to vote at all, not anywhere in the state of Texas. Now, during early voting, if you're registered in another county and you just moved to Uvalde County, you have a permanent address here, you can do what's called a limited ballot. You can vote the races that we have in common with your other county, the county that you're registered in. So you can't vote the local races, but you can do the statewide and the federal races. So there's a little bit difference there, but the majority of the people who did a provisional ballot, they were just not registered at all, or they were just passing through. They're here for a short temporary time, but they're not living here permanently. That was the majority of provisional ballots.
And the way your system's set up, you can say, hey, you're registered.
Yes, I can. They even on election day, we have our election workers call us if they're not finding them in the system. And we will look for them statewide so that we can say, actually, you're registered in Uvalde County. Do you live in Uvalde County? And they say, yes. You can get to Uvalde County and get your full ballot counted. We give them an option.
To get your full ballot counted?
Yeah, full ballot count. Instead of doing a provisional ballot here.
Okay.
So your system is also set up to where if they live in another county and let's say they have land here, they can't vote in both.
No, you have to be registered in one place.
One place.
It's wherever you reside.
Two questions or 2 concerns that came up was the sample ballot. Unlike previous years, you put everything on one ballot.
One ballot, and then we broke up the local races. We put underneath them which precincts they were in. We had 24 different ballot styles. And we felt that was confusing because in precinct 5 alone, we had 4 different ballot styles. And most of the time when people come into our office and get a sample ballot, they don't talk to us. They go straight to the sample ballot box and pull the first one. Yeah. Well, that's not necessarily your precinct. And so we figured it was easier if we put everything on one ballot and we put which precincts were there. And then.
Is that going to be the norm now?
It may be, and especially because we're going to the countywide polling place program and having all of the sample ballots available in every single precinct, polling location on election day, it would make it more complicated. Now, like for this runoff election, there's only one ballot style. And for the constitutional amendment election, there's probably only going to be one ballot style. So it's going to look more like the regular sample ballot. It is complicated.
Any additional questions?
Just one question or thought. On Friday before the election, I got a call and said, we're down to 10 boxes instead of our normal 14 boxes. Mm-hmm. Is that?
That's what we utilized. Yes.
So tell me how you came to that decision of not necessarily, how would I say, deleting or doing away with boxes, but maybe consolidating them? Better word?
Yeah, it's because anybody can vote anywhere on election day. It's not really consolidating. It's just changing the polling locations. So we kept the outside of the city of Uvalde. Those are exactly the same. So Canepa, Savannah, Utopia, those all stayed exactly the same. The only ones that we changed were the city of Uvalde because there's a majority of voters. The number one location we wanted to keep was the Civic Center because in every single election, no matter the size, the turnout, everybody shows up at the Civic Center in the city of Uvalde, and that's the number one place we have to turn people away. So, and we also had, that was our biggest turnout. 1,082 people showed up to the Civic Center. So that was even the majority of our turnout, total turnout, was election day at the Civic Center. So that was the biggest one we wanted to make sure it stayed the same.
Because the other ones were kind of low volume, right? Like the what do they call it? The Potter House over in mine, which is always low turnout.
Yeah, because we're usually turning people away to those locations.
Right.
That's
and then the
usually
other one was like the little church on South Crisp, right?
South Crisp.
It's another really low turnout one.
Yes.
You've got the nutrition center that's not that far.
Right. They were just like, yeah, right across the street almost from each other. And then the Fairplex had a pretty low turnout. I wasn't really expecting that one, but we did. Most of the people that were coming, we expected people from Precinct 13 to show up there because Precinct 13 isn't just the estates. It's also from just north of Highway 90 all the way west. And so there was a whole swath of voters who were having to come all the way into town and go down to the clinic to get to their election day polling location. We figured that was a little more central for Precinct 13 in that area. But also, there was just some issues with the clinic now. They moved their dentistry, like their desk. So people are having to walk through the dentist's office in order to get to this very small room. That's one of our biggest precincts. And we had one of the smallest polling locations for it. And also it was just, the room was so far away from the parking lot. And especially for older voters, handicapped voters, we wanted better locations that they had access to.
So how were those voters notified?
So we put it in the newspaper, we put it on our Facebook page, we had informed the candidates as well. We wanted to make sure the candidates knew. That was the biggest thing. Candidates are the number one thing that voters get information from for election
And you
day.
notified the candidates when?
So we told them as they were coming in, like throughout that pre-election cycle, every time they came in, we gave them a list of the polling locations.
I
know
your
a few
ad.
of them used it in their flyers and such.
I saw your ad in the paper, the 3x3 ad.
Oh, is that small?
Yeah. And so my concern is that if we go back to July 29th, the meeting we had here, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, the sentiment was we're going to approve countywide voting,
Yeah.
and we're going to leave the boxes alone.
We were going to try. Yeah. There was a couple places that were not amenable anymore to us using their location.
And so if I ask you, you made this decision on your own?
No, we actually talked with the party chairs, both party chairs. We informed them. We are not informed, but we talked to them about it and asked for their opinion. We also talked to the city of Uvalde. We talked to how they felt it because we were in conjunction with them as well. So we talked to them as well about how they felt
So
about
you
it.
didn't talk to anybody, one of our
I talked to a few of the
commissioners?
yeah.
Well, moving forward, perhaps we should come up with a strategy of promoting those sites as polling sites.
I do want to say, I did attempt to do Facebook ads. They kept getting denied by Facebook. But I did attempt to purchase Facebook ads as well. And they just kept denying and denying. Even when we appealed it, denied it. They have new standards for political stuff. And for whatever reason, our page is not set up for political ads. I don't know why it was considered
create.
Yeah.
You almost have to create like you're a candidate, and then
Yeah,
get it vetted, and it takes
not-
about a month.
Yeah, but we did attempt to several times.
But overall, there were not any problems, any major problems?
No, not that we're aware of. I would say, based on the turnout, I would think that because in going forward in next elections, you can go down to 7 if you want to. If we were to do that and you make Civic Center the major big Uvalde precinct, I would suggest going ahead and renting out the large event center in the Civic Center, because that room for that many people for that kind of turnout is just too small.
Well, when we had COVID in 2020, y'all used those breakout rooms, and that worked really well because you went in one door and you exited the other, rather than.
And the cross traffic was a lot less.
I will say the drive-through system at the Civic Center seemed to work really well.
Yes, a lot of people really liked that.
Rather than the curbside.
Yes, really worked.
Well, those are things we can look at going
in
forward.
the future. Yeah.
I think the only thing that saved us was the fact that we did have community-wide, because I agree with the commissioner that this would have been chaos if we had changed the voting places and they couldn't vote wherever they happened to show up, like in the previous cycles. Because if you would have showed up and they would have said, hey, you got to go somewhere else, that was a big problem last time.
So under Texas law, you have the authority to say,
Yeah.
we're going to consolidate these boxes?
Yes.
You don't have to come before
Yeah.
Commissioner's Court?
And that's something as well, the next election we're looking at is the constitutional amendment election. We consolidated those to 7 polling locations in the past. But for a bigger election, for a primary or for a general, you have the ability to have as many or as few as you want to, as long as it's 7 or more. So it's something to think about, something to look at, and the decision to make for a future election.
Because we were only off by 500 or 600 votes total.
And that may be, and who knows what the difference there is, because we had most of our, every single one of our countywide elections were unopposed.
Yeah.
And so maybe that made a difference there too.
Were you able to look through the numbers and see how many people took advantage of voting outside of their precinct box in elections?
So I didn't look at in the city of Uvalde. I did look at the other precincts. And so I actually have a little report if you want to take a look at that.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Because I feel like at the Civic Center, that's the saving grace, is that people would,
Oh, yeah.
they were used to being there
I
early.
will-
And
Yeah, I'll give you this little report so you can take a look at that. It was interesting.
Okay, let's get back to the canvas, and that's the purpose that we're here. So, any questions on the canvas? Is there a motion to accept the results and canvass the votes?
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Bates, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Garza, discussion?
I'd like for Commissioner's Court to consider in the future that any consolidating or any closing of boxes
And I
come before
understand that, I
Commissioner's Court,
understand
and
that.
we
but-
make the approval.
But that's not why we're here
Yeah,
today.
I got
So
it.
let's
I
go
got
ahead and
it.
take care of the canvas, and we can take that up at another meeting.
Well taken.
Okay.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That concludes the business at hand. The discussion that we want to have should be on a future agenda. All right. This meeting will be adjourned. Thank y'all for being here.